and Comcast cable. You can call in live on the air at area code 313-868-4336, 868-0342, and 868-0351. Of course, the area code is 313. That's 313-868-4336, 868-0342, and 868-0351. And now let's go live with the scriptural discussion of the Son of Man.
In the name of Allah, the Beneficent, the Most Merciful, the Truthful, and the Most Just. I greet all of you once again who are within the sound of my voice with the greeting words of peace from the Lord of the worlds. May Allah's Salam Alaikum. May Allah's peace be unto you all. I'm not, I don't like being reactionary. Before making judgments about anything, you should study that thing. And just in case you are asked to explain why you made the judgment you made. If it's based on anything other than truth, then you've left justice on the outside. Justice is based on truth, facts. And when you come up with a decision that is based on justice, based on facts, no one can accuse you of being unjust. No one can accuse you of flying off at the handle. There's an old saying, if the shoe fits, then wear it. You know, if the evidence points to you, to your guilt or my guilt, then I'll show you an example. Is there now any Caucasian people? I'm not so much as looking for my people, black people, at least those who look like me. When I say something about Caucasian people, if you feel that it's false, you have a right to speak. But just because you feel that something is not, that does not make it not true, just because you feel that it should not be true. And let's face it, you can't claim to be no expert. I'm talking to black people. You can't claim to be no expert on the truth and on knowing the truth and have been kept in this position of a slave, a subject and oppressed people by white people for the past 400 years. So you shouldn't be so quick to come in here and try to put forth arguments as though you are so knowledgeable of the truth. You know, if they charge, if in this society, when I say they, I'm talking about the government of America, and generally that means white people. If they charge a person with the crime, if you're not his lawyer, they don't even want to hear from you, except as a witness if you are called by his lawyer. Do you understand? Okay. Now, I'll show you an example. Now, how many of you all are familiar with Dr. Bill Cosby? Okay. At any point in time, did you ever hear or see Bill Cosby out on, hear about him being out on a date with some white woman? Did you? No place? His wife is a black woman. And you mean none of y'all, out of all these white women that's coming out 30 years after the fact, claiming that he raped them, and you never seen him out on a date with a white woman? And you jumping and running with this from people who ain't got a history of doing nothing but murdering us? You heard what they said. I showed you some of the stuff that they said when I'm disciplining my own baby. And they said I ought to be killed. You witnessed that. You witnessed the man got out there and they called the DHS people. And had them come out here trying to create some mess. Say, he told them I hit my baby with my shoe. Right? He didn't just tell them that. He told them, he put it all on his post. What do you think white people care about lying on you? That's one thing I will give Miss Ruley. When I asked her point blank, did Bill Cosby rape you? She said no. Well, okay. Another pay her to go in there and get something on him. If they had all of these people telling them the truth, what they need it up for? Well, you know, the more people you have saying something, according to them, it must be true. How many people were saying that Michael Brown had his hands up? And they say the evidence just didn't corroborate that, right? White folks, if you hear me, you hear me. If some of y'all listening and think that I'm saying something that's wrong, you don't have to be quiet. I would love to have you come in here and let's have this discussion. Because sooner or later, we're going to have to talk anyway. When the earth starts casting forth what's in it, spewing up all over you, you'll talk to me then. I promise you, you'll talk to me then. When you see what's coming, you'll be glad if I'll talk to you. Maybe then I'll be done change my mind. But anyway, I want you to understand something. Tonight, I want to have a meaningful conversation with all of you, no matter what your skin color is. Black, white, don't make no difference. Yellow, brown. A meaningful conversation about the racism that permeates America. The first thing I want you to do is acknowledge the fact that the government is full of racism. That's the first thing you need to acknowledge. And if you're not going to acknowledge that, then how are we going to have a meaningful conversation? The reason that it ain't happened up to this point is because most of the black leadership was educated by the very one who he's expected to challenge. And you know what happens when students try to go up against those who taught them. That don't work out so well for the student. You know why? Because the teacher knows and he knows what you don't know. Why you think it's in the book, in the Bible, that God had to come? He said, I have seen the affliction of my people. I have heard their cries by reason of their slave masters. And I am come down to deliver them out of the hands of the Americans. You say it said Egyptians. Well, that's what America was called in the Bible. She's spiritually called Egypt. That's in the book of Revelation. And Sodom. So I want you to listen. And if I fabricate something, you point it out. If I say something that's not factual, you point it out. And I will be more than happy to let you show me what's false about anything that I say. White people have made you and me haters of our own selves. That's why he don't fear to murder you whenever he get ready. He do you like lions do them gazelles and them little sheep and stuff out there. Those little creatures they never could think that if we'd all stick together, he might could bite a few of us, but if we stick together, we could get him. He'd stop trying to find them among us. So he don't want you to love your brother and your sister, because true love casteth out fear. You know why? You think back when you thought you was really in love with somebody. Just think back. What it made you care about yourself? You cared more about them than you cared about yourself. Ain't that right? Perfect without fear. You must learn to love your people. You won't have to do nothing to nobody, because won't nobody bother you no more. Greater love hath no man than this, that he lay down his life for his friend. How much more than for his brother? Listen to me good. There's many things that we don't know. Even those officers who murder our young men, generally in some business district somewhere, or what they've been told behind closed doors. I know one thing, white people got a history that they can be told to go and murder people and they will do it in the name of they was following orders. Remember Hitler? Didn't his SS and his Gestapo and his German army, didn't they do his bidding? And what was their excuse when they were put on trial for war crimes? Crimes against humanity. I was just following orders. I was a soldier. How are you a soldier if you fighting civilians? A civilian is not trained to fight you. It's like a man claiming to be the heavyweight champion of the world and running around coming challenging me. I mean, what? You can be the heavyweight champion all you want, and whooping me ain't gonna prove nothing. Why? Because I'm not trained in what you are trained in. So if he hit me, he's charged with a crime. His hands are weapons. They are considered as weapons when he's out here on the street with the public. Right? In the ring, it's no weapons. Ain't either one of them. Since both of them are trained, then it's an even match, right? Okay. Now, I learned that from white people. Didn't you learn that from them? I'm just bearing witness to what they taught us, right? Okay, let's let them teach us something else. Look at this. Let me put this on there. You know, he said this. When they arrest you, when they're getting ready to arrest you, they say, you have the right to remain silent. At least they're supposed to, you know. Excuse me. If you give up that right, anything that you say can and will be used against you in what? In a court of law, right? Now, he told you you have the right to be quiet, huh? Then he'll ask you, now tell us what happened. Is that right? And you go to talking, and then whatever you say, he find whatever's in there that could prove that he arrested you for good reason. And that's what he brings up in court. Anything you say, he's not looking for something that exonerates you. He's looking for something to convict you, right? Now the book says, as thou hast done, so shall it be done unto you. Whatsoever judgment you judge, however you judge, that's how you will be judged. Huh? Now, his own news media is recording these things. Now, I want you to Listen, I want y'all to also tell me. Now, when I was in LA, they have on the side of the police car to protect and serve. In some parts of the country, it have to serve and to protect, right? Is that right? Or what? Okay. What does that mean? While that's something I want you to come back and I want you to tell me what that means. Excuse me, I put this thing on us.
This is an issue that we've been dealing with for too long, and it's time for us to make more progress than we make. And I'm not interested in talk, I'm interested in, I am absolutely committed as President of the United States to making sure that we have a country in which everybody believes in the core principle that we are equal under the law.
Welcome back to Harvard. That was, of course, President Obama late today reacting to that big story out of New York, the big bad story, I should say, where a grand jury has cleared an NYPD officer on charges of a chokehold death of Eric Garner out on Staten Island. And we continue to await Attorney General Eric Garner from the Justice Department in Washington. He's going to have something to say about this Garner case. Let's bring in MSNBC's Amanda Sakuma, who's between the police lines and the protesters right up there on 6th Avenue in Midtown Manhattan. Amanda, thank you for joining us tonight from MSNBC. Well, give us the story.
Hi, Chris. Protesters were able to barrel their way through the police barricades here and spill out onto the street. That's when we saw a very tense standoff between police and the protesters as they were trying to chant and yell. We saw several be taken into custody. One man who said that he was a part of the foreign press. And so the standoff has started to slow down now. There are now double barricades. The police presence is very heightened around here, and we should expect this to bubble over again very soon.
And these people were spontaneous responders to the situation. They came from all over the boroughs. I mean, how did they all get there so quickly? I mean, what was going on? Was it organized or just regular people who just wanted to make their voices heard?
There's a very galvanized effort over social media to have people gather in Union Square. We saw them gather there and then travel as many blocks and march up to Times Square and then into Rockefeller Center. And now, as you know, there's the lighting ceremony here today. And so there's a lot of foot traffic here with tourists as well as a heightened police presence. And so they're trying to disrupt the traffic here and really make a stand and send their message.
Any violence yet, or is it cool so far?
No violence, a little hot-headed anger and aggression toward the police, but nothing violent so far.
Thanks so much. Take care of yourself. Amanda Sakuma out there on the streets of New York and Midtown. Joining me right now is Democratic U.S. Congressman Gregory Meeks and Charles Rangel, both of New York. Thank you, gentlemen, for staying over tonight. Congressman Rangel, I've known you forever. This reminds me of the old Groucho Marx thing about who are you going to believe, me or your lying eyes? I mean, this picture is so stark, and nothing in it seems to suggest anything that mitigates. You're an attorney, anything that mitigates against bad police work, and in fact, lethal police work that shouldn't be the case. Your thoughts?
Let's get away from all this legal thing. If people think it's too complicated or we shouldn't talk about race, let's just try to talk about common sense. There's one guy, he's a victim. He is dead. He is saying to the people that assailed him, I cannot breathe. A group of people around him are in uniform. The man that died was called, it was a homicide. People in the grand jury are supposed to decide how.
Now pay good attention to where he's at. He's out there in front of someone's business, isn't he? Remember that. Oh, they say he was selling cigarettes one by one. So they made an ordinance against that. You know, I mean, people who sell packs of cigarettes don't want you selling cigarettes one by one. Do you understand? So, you know, he you know, why they didn't just tell him to move on. But a statement had to be made. So I want you to understand something. I remember the messenger said this about cowards. He said, if you are a coward, you just well to go home and get a shotgun and kill your family and then blow your own brains out. He didn't like cowards. Now, a coward Muslim is not a Muslim. That don't mean you go out starting trouble with people either. It simply means that if someone starts something with you, you have the right and the duty to defend yourself. You know, ain't no white folks gonna take you murdering their people. You remember when Mr. Clive Bundy? You remember how many of those people came out there and said they was not gonna let Mr. Bundy be mistreated? No, we can't go around here buying guns and picking up guns here because we ain't got staying power. But we can sure stand as one. We can speak as one. And your love for one another. God ain't never let no people. When Pharaoh thought he was finna murder Moses, and that's a prophecy. That's when Pharaoh's whole thing was undone. God took it up and drowned his behind in Red Sea. Lava is red. Oh, I want you to pay good attention. And you need to understand it ain't enough to see a thing. You need to understand what you're looking at.
This guy died. And they come out and say it certainly wasn't anybody around him that was responsible. Now, that means either he took his own life or that the gang of blues that were in there had decided with the district attorney that there would not be a true indictment based on the true facts that are recorded. So the only thing we can do in this case, as I see it, is to just get the grand jury record and just... Was the district attorney looking for an indictment? Which side was he on? Because we're both former prosecutors, and it's very difficult to tell the prosecutor's office from the police office since you're working together trying to find the truth and put wrongdoers in jail.
Let me go to Mr. Meeks. We have an adversary system, as Mr. Ranga pointed out. The normal adversary system is defense attorneys defend, prosecutors prosecute. But both this case and Ferguson, the one similarity is it looks like, I'm not sure of this, that both prosecutors didn't want to prosecute. They didn't believe there was anything wrong. There was even probable cause anything was done wrong. How's to explain their behavior in this case, in both cases?
Well, I think that has to be part of the federal investigation also, because clearly the DA controls the process. As Mr. Rangel has indicated, we're both former prosecutors. And when you're in with a grand jury, you present your witness. And generally, when you allow someone to come in to testify who is the defendant, it's really to get a transcript so that you can use against him or her at trial. And so, and afterwards, you ask the grand jury for an indictment. So we do need the transcript, because I would like to know whether Mr. Donovan asked for an indictment after the conclusion of presenting the case to the grand jury. It just seems to me that something is wrong or peculiar here. And so I think that as part of what we will ask the Justice Department and Attorney General Holder to look at the relationship here between the DA, the police officers, and the procedure that took place within this grand jury. They need to also look at that as part of their practice and pattern investigation and looking at this case in its entirety.
And Mr. Rangel, I want to talk about cameras, because I am a believer that you can improve situations. I know you are, Mr. Rangel, as well. We can improve life. Cameras on police officers, better training. But here you have police officers trained not to use the chokehold. There was a camera on them, and apparently the police officers knew there was a camera on them. Still, they behaved the way they did.
The other similarity that both of the victims were, and you can take all the cameras you want, and people who want to hurt somebody and take away their human rights and their constitutional rights, these are mean-spirited people, all of them. And the other is the worst kind of people that watch this and they don't say anything about it. It's embarrassing, it's awkward for me as an American to talk about this disease that we've had since slavery. We're curing it gradually, but it exists there. So yes, get the cameras and get the training, get what you want. But what do they talk about at the dinner table about people of color, especially young men?
And this shows a violation of human rights. And we're the first country to talk about what's going on else place in the world. We criticize everybody where we go, saying they're a violation of human rights. We're here for the world to see in Ferguson, here in Staten Island, and other cases, the young boy in Cleveland, Ohio, violation of human rights.
And actually, that's the point in a nutshell. God just wants to first let the world see what his reason is. You ain't never ran into a tyrant that ever thought that he was going to lose his power and his kingdom. He thought he was going to last forever. So God have never destroyed, ain't nobody ever accused God of being unjust. You know why? Because he lets you see what's in the hearts of people. Here they talk about fighting terrorism, and the black man and woman in America have lived under terrorism for 459 years by the very people who claim that they are against terrorism. You, white people. If they could, they frighten me into not even chastising my own baby. Huh? In other words, he owns me. To hear him tell it, he think he own them football players. That's why he say, how dare they come out there with hands up? Huh? They don't got no, they just play ball. Yeah? You know, put the old one against the young one against the old one, the male against the female against the male. You don't realize that they've taken that, put the rich one against the poor one, and the poor one against the one that we let get a little wealth, and keep them all against each other. The worst thing you can do is start letting them start sympathizing and empathizing with one another and feeling each other's pain. White people, chime in if I say something that ain't true. We know you're listening because you was cussing me out when you thought you found something. So don't play dumb. Oh, you got one that he, every time we get on the air now, he does what they did to President Obama's, remember when they had the website kept crashing? Well, we found out how they did that. You know, they got people out there that know how to crash your website. And that's what, you know, we found out that they, you know, be doing. And this one, they even told us when he isn't going to do it, didn't he? He might do it after a while. I don't know. But Allah will fix him when he get ready. You see? You know, I just hadn't said nothing about it. Now I'm saying something about it. So, but anyway, you know, the scripture says, the fear of man bringeth a snare. That's the one thing that they try to find out. What are you afraid of? And that's what they threaten you with. But once you fear Allah, Allah take the fear for everybody else out of you. Just like Moses, he was afraid of Pharaoh. And he said, who am I to be going to him and my own people? And the children of Israel won't listen to me. That's me. Yeah, I'm talking to them and I can't even get y'all to listen to me. But that's prophecy. So I'm satisfied with that. And whether you hear me or not, Allah still told me what to say to them. And I'm not afraid to say it. I'm saying it now. And I'm inviting them to come in here, in this forum here. They don't mind getting on that forum and talking. Only coming in talking hours. He don't even invite me into his. He do interviews and talk about people. When the man was talking to me, he called me the new nation of Islam. Benny Thompson was being interviewed by the new nation of Islam. Is that my title? You can say Marvin. I don't care. You come on interview me like you do the rest of these leaders. You throw your microphone in their face because you know you taught them. Then you even put words in their mouth without them even realizing it. You know, I feel sorry for you who too steeped in this world's way and fell in love with evil. Even when you know how this world got like it is by oppressing and murdering your people. I try to get you to join with me and help me to make a future for our people. Because my problem ain't with the Ku Klux Klan. Because if you stay out of their neighborhood and stay out there chasing their girls and sons, they leave you alone. But it's these who invite you to move in so they can mistreat you. I mean, you think I'm lying? What the Statue of Liberty got on it? Give me your tired, your poor, your huddled masses yearning to breathe free. And then when the people, they huddled masses come here, then they mistreat them. Call them all kind of, you call them illegal aliens. Well, then make them legal. We don't want them here. Well, why don't you take that sign down? That would be the first thing you do. Take that Statue of Liberty down. A matter of fact, to put on the Statue of Liberty, we can't take no more. Right? I mean, let's just be honest. It's time to be honest. Matter of fact, not we can't take no more. We don't want no more of y'all. Right? Then tell them, look, we'll help you make yourself like us. But now they don't want to be like you now that they're seeing what you really are like. You're a hypocrite. You're a nation full of hypocrites. You say peace when there ain't no peace inside of your borders. Just racism, bigotry, hatred, murder. Here these people calling, look at what they did to Bill Cosby. You know good and well if that man was around there raping white women, ain't no way they would not have reported it. They'd have been glad to report it. They glad to come out here and call President Obama, he the most supposedly in the most powerful position in the land. Is he not a power man? That didn't stop that senator from hollering, you lie. That doesn't stop John Boehner from coming out there during that debt ceiling crisis, talking about, he said that he wanted to raise the debt ceiling. And I said, not so fast. You said, not so fast to the president? That's how you talk to children. That's not how you talk to the chief executive of the United States. Not so fast. See, you really don't know how much you be insulted every day. And that's why they keep doing it. We don't need to be in this country, 40 million of us, and have no control over even the community where we live. When the last time you heard about a murder in Jefferson County by the police? The city police are black, the sheriff is black, and all of his officers are black. And this county is black. They are not just our policemen, they are our neighbors. And that don't mean he go along with you when you do wrong either. They had me in jail over that. And you know, judge found me in contempt. They put me in jail. But they didn't mistreat me. Black officers patrol black people. And you know what will happen when it's black officers patrolling black people and white officers patrolling white people? A fool ain't gonna get on the police force. A savage is not gonna be on either force because the people not gonna stand for it. Now, as long as racism permeates America, that's the only solution as long as we live in here together like this. If you got a mixed community, then the police should be mixed. A black one and a white one together, depending on who's they stopping or who they going to, then let the one who looks like that person go first and the other one back him up. That'll solve the problem. You'll stop having reason to hate your police. I want you to answer my question. What that sign mean on the side of them cars? I ain't forgot. Let's go back to this. Then I want to show you something else.
So we as America have to say America has to do better, and we need all Americans. And what I think that I've seen on the cameras of those that are demonstrating on the streets today, what makes me pleased about it, it's a multiracial and multi-ethnic crowd that's out there. Just as at the New York City press conference that we had today, we had not only members of the Congressional Black Caucus there, but we had others who were not members of the Joe Crowley and Elliot Engel and Jerry Nadler. We've got to fix this problem as Americans because we need to be better than where we are today.
I just want to be a little more optimistic than Mr. Rangel. Everybody I know is more liberal than their parents. And everybody I know, their kids are more liberal than they are and better on race. I can see it tracking in 3 generations of my family. Our kids who are 20.
You know, all he's really saying is that it's just going to take some time. You know, it's funny how people who are oppressing always think it's, you know, when you're trying to get out from under the oppression, that it's going to take some time. When they are being oppressed, they don't say that. You and I have to stop letting white people articulate our pain. Don't look, white people. I know some of you mean well, and I know that. I ain't forgot about John Brown and some of the even when John F. Kennedy sent troops down there to make sure that black people was, you know, that they stopped mistreating black people in certain parts of the country. He did what he could do. I mean, but look, man, brother, we got to stop looking to white folks like they some great father of ours. You want anything done right, it's an old saying. Do it yourself. We need to unite. I would like to meet with the black leadership so that we could, you know, come together and agree on who has the plan. Now, understand something. Just because your head makes the plan, the head can't pick up no saw. The head can't write no letter. The hands do that. Every member for what it's best suited for. We have to learn those things. As I ride down South here, you notice most of the where people look at America, they live in this country and don't really look at how it works. You have a Department of Agriculture that some of your tax money goes to support that department and those people who grow your food and grow enough to export and whatnot and generate revenue for this country and that kind of thing. They it's all a plan. The Department of Transportation. You and I are going to have to learn to do for ourselves. And in so doing, we just might be able to save America and the world, because they all confused. They don't know what to do. All they know to do is what they've been doing. You know, you only get good at what you practice. How you looking to white people to show you the way to peace when they ain't got no place in history where they ever been at peace with anybody, including themselves? White people, name a time when you was ever at peace with anybody. All you think about is how to make a better weapon, because you got to protect your freedom. Protect your freedom from who? And to do what? Your freedom to go around making mischief and messing over people. How I know that? Because that's what you've been doing. All the games that low down white people been running on the world. Now, all white people ain't low down. But all them games that the low down ones been running on the world, they perfected them games by using them on us. Then what they used on us and got and perfected, then they start going around the world doing it. They not only put savages in our community, for that's the only one that would go for what, you know, the white man that comes in our community and put on a policeman uniform and pretend to be a police officer, when all he really is a bully and a murderer, looking and hoping that he can provoke us into making his day. Because he wanted to kill us anyway. So he'll provoke you and then say you assaulted him. Yeah, they do it all the time. First accepted Islam, I was 22 years old. And this old white sergeant, I think he was a sergeant, stopped me in East LA while I was selling Muhammad Speaks. And he said, after he checked my ID and then found, he said, look me straight in my eyes and say, you know the war's on, don't you? I told you about it. I went home and told my mom and them and like to scare them to death. You know, I'm thinking they was gonna, I didn't realize how, you know, they left Mississippi because they was tired and afraid of, you know, at least my mother, I know she was just fearful of what they could do or what she thought they could do. You know, if he could do everything that he boasts that he can do to us, he wouldn't be boasting about it. Did you hear what I said? He'd just be too busy doing it. He don't have no more authority over you now, but what you give him. He can't stop you from uniting with your people and making a way on some of this earth that you can call your own. All we have to do is come together and unite. The Honorable Elijah Muhammad told me, he said, our unity will be the shot that's heard around the world. You join with me. He won't be killing you no more. Allah is with me. And he can protect us all and put a stop to anybody that wants to do us harm. And we don't need no guns. You hear me? Now, you pay attention.
They don't even think about race. It never comes up. They date across racial lines. It never comes up. So I guess I'm more hopeful than you about this.
I'm hopeful as hell. We've come a long way since slavery. My God, in just 50 years, it took 100 years, 200 years, they gave us the voting right.
See, that's my point. That's what you're going to always be saying as long as you let white folks dictate to you how to conduct yourself and in what way to go about getting justice for yourself. You think he going to teach you that he's the number one obstacle in the way of justice and freedom for you? This man done got you to give him control over everything that go inside your brain. What you think the school system is? You got all these black teachers and you afraid to set up your own school system and teach your children. The Honorable Elijah Muhammad started that back in the 40s. And they put him in jail for contributing to the delinquency of minors. For his own school to teach his own children. Now you can homeschool, you know who started that. The Honorable Elijah Muhammad, that's who started it. I know where you expect to get out from under an oppressor and you letting the oppressor teach your children and you. Just like what I'm saying right now, it ain't reaching most of y'all. Yeah, you just, you offended. You don't hear the white man say that I'm lying. Didn't you hear me tell him to cut in, chime in when I tell you something that's wrong? Well, this got to be done so that in the end, he can say what is written that he will say. He gonna say, blame me not. He gonna say, Allah promised you the promise of truth. He said, and I promised you, you know, politicians promise you all the time. Look what the Constitution promises every American. Have they delivered on that? I remember we used to, when I was a little boy, I used to say, I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, with liberty and justice for all. When we ain't never got justice. They ought to say justice for all who can afford it and justice for all who look like white people. That's what you ought to say. And we know about how much under God is, especially with men marrying men and women marrying women and all of this wrong murder and stuff that's going on. They condoning murder. We looking at it on national and international TV. Looking at a murder a man and turn him loose. Why? Why? They're doing his job. You got to know the truth. Just listen.
Act, they gave us a Civil Rights Act. Hey, all deliberate speed. We're not saying that America is racist. It's probably just a handful of sick people. It's those people that don't stand up when they hear it in the room, whether it's anti-Semitic, whether it's anti-black. It's people that say, why are you always bringing up race? You got a black president. No, we're talking about not color. We're talking about how do you treat people. And I tell you who's not saying much about this. Holy Mother, the church. We don't hear from the Christians. We don't hear, not our church, all of it.
No, because religion is one of the major ways that they've divided us. They ain't gonna say nothing about the injustices that we suffer? Don't the government take away their little money that they get up under the table? You remember what the chief priest and them said? If we leave him alone, the Romans gonna come and take away our position and the nation. Yeah. Who gave them their licenses to preach? They're not finna go up against the one who licensed them. Huh? Yeah. You know, you sit up and talk about you believe in justice. No, you don't believe in justice. Otherwise, why are you angry with me for standing up here telling the truth? You wasn't angry with yourself for doing these things to us. Then why are you angry? Because I'm saying you did it. Yeah. So, I'll let you hear a little bit more of that, and then I'm going to let you hear something else.
Churches, all of the synagogues, all of the people that say beyond the Constitution that human beings should be treated with dignity.
You want to get a hold of our church, the one you and I share. Get a hold of the Pope, because I think he'll listen to you, Mr. Reagan. I'm dead serious.
If I can get to the Pope, I got it made. I'm 84 and I'm not taking any gambles with the priests and the bishops. Not right now.
I know they're all Republicans, the bishops. Anyway, thank you. U.S. Congressman Gregory Meeks of New York and U.S. Congressman Charles Rangel, a great veteran of New York. Much more in this developing story ahead. And later in my interview, and I think it's an exclusive interview, I think we're calling it that. It is one with Senator Rand Paul. He showed up on the show. He was really interesting today. A lot of you like.
Into Brooklyn, he's going to have to. Thank you, Jamie.
To white and black at this time when these kind of situations like just broke in New York with the Garner case. How do we do it? How do we get past it?
You know, I think it's hard not to watch that video of him saying, I can't breathe, and not be horrified by it. But I think there's something bigger than just the individual circumstances. Obviously, the individual circumstances are important, but I think it's also important to know that some politician put a tax of $5.85 on a pack of cigarettes so that driven cigarettes underground by making them so expensive. But then some politician also had to direct the police to say, hey, we want you arresting people for selling a loose cigarette. And for someone to die over, breaking that law, there really is no excuse for it. But I do blame the politicians. We put our police in a difficult situation.
They have given when it comes to us, it's a self-evident truth. Since no police officer has been prosecuted and gone to jail for murdering any of us, then they have given them behind closed doors the assurance that they can use their own judgment. They can be judge, prosecutor, and executioner if they so see fit when it comes to a black man or woman on the street. Otherwise, why do you think they are not afraid to just do that on camera or off camera? Don't make no difference. Why? And they're not going to put a stop to it. We have to put a stop to that. We can have them out of our community. We ain't got to have them patrolling our community. But we have to speak with one voice. Tell them, you take your savages and take them on back over there and let them patrol you. We don't need them over here. But for that, you need to develop your own business district, which means you're going to have to start producing a lot of your own goods and services, which means we need to put our money together and create a fund. But when we have intelligent, business-minded Black people, we got to give them the seed money to go in business. And they can hire some of the carpenters and the electricians and the architects. They can hire them to do the building. And that way we keep that money right there. Huh? But he don't want to see you and me do that. So it's going to come to a point where it's going to come to a showdown between Allah and him over us. Watch what I tell you. And it's already written that he lost. just mark my word. Yes. But listen at him, out of your own mouth.
With bad laws. Let me ask you about the large question of our life, which is peace and war. We've had a policy, it seems, for a long time now of going into countries in the Middle East, whether it's Saddam Hussein, we've had 2 wars with Iraq. We had something to do with bringing down Mubarak, something to do with bringing down Gaddafi, something to do even now with bringing down Bashar Assad.
And what he failed to say is he had something to do with putting them up there. Remember the Shah of Iran? Who put him up there? Who gave Saddam Hussein the key to the city of Detroit? Huh? They put him up there. But anyway, let's get past that. I want to get to the meat of this.
Where are you? Yeah, this was a big debate for our founding fathers, and it's probably the most important responsibility that any legislator. The unintended consequences of always being involved everywhere. Well, of course, Hillary Clinton is the person you're talking about there on the Democratic side. Hussein was actually a check and balance against Iran, and there was some stability by pitting one against another or letting them check and balance each other. Gaddafi being gone, it's more dangerous there. Ambassador was assassinated. The embassy has fled into Tunisia. In Egypt, I think we were worse off for a while and still, in many ways, are not a lot better than we were before. Syria, and that they have to report this to their commander. To me, it's kind of like you work for a...
Yeah, that's what I'm about.
Their ideology, the shade of their ideology. An outside check.
Now I want y'all to listen to this part real good. And listen to him bear witness that they know what really needed to be done. Now, you just listen. I'm talking about the police and the DA and all these people killing black people. Now, listen to Rand Paul.
Sexual abuse of a military. Explain. I think nothing motivates me more than trying to make sure that the law defends the defenseless and defends those who are minorities, not just color of the skin, but could be gender, but also could be a minority because of your ideology, the shade of your ideology. So when I hear about people being violently abused and that they have to report this to their commander, to me, it's kind of like you work for a corporation. You'd have to report being abused to your boss, who may well be a drinking buddy with someone who abused you. really, it makes more sense to have it outside the chain of command. I don't understand why someone who's been abused would have to report it to someone who may well be a friend of the person who did the abusing.
What did he say? When the police abuse us, we had to call the police. You saw what happened there in Ferguson, New York. The police have to police themselves. The DA who works so close with them, they drink together. They friends. Now you asking him to prosecute his friend, his golfing buddy. Huh? And let's just face it, over a nigga. But that's what we is to them. How you know that? Because they still treat us like their fathers treated us when they called us openly nigga. Which means that their thinking of us ain't changed. I'm talking about those who doing these things. Huh? Do you notice none of the congressmen and none of the people who stand up and talk about this, they act like they don't forget how to say the word nigga. As though that's done left or whatever. You acknowledge that there's racism still, then why don't you just acknowledge how they think about us? And as long as you and I stay selfish and can't stand to see each other with nothing, then they ain't far from the truth. Look up the definition of the word N-I-G-G-A and then be honest and see if that fits you. It don't fit me. No, sir. You can't fix your mouth to call me a nigga. Because I'm not stingy. I'm not selfish. I'm not miserly. And I care about people. Even people who don't care nothing about me. Because I know they got to be ignorant to not have sense enough to care about someone who cares about them. They don't know no better. I want you all, what's the problem? Huh? Go and check and see if that, hurry up, brother, you gotta step lively. Don't smell nothing. But I want you all, Jabril, go back there and turn that heater off. Huh? Okay. So I want you to remember. Now he said what need to be done. Then how come the Congress didn't do that? None of him stand out. He said he hate to see people. Let's let him say it again. No, I mean his heart go out to the poor. That's what he said.
God, Senator, so much. That's scary a bit. Anyway, let me ask you this about where you are. Also, you're going in your own direction, given your party's position. I think you're out there with Senator Gillibrand of New York fighting for an outside check on sexual abuse of military women. Explain.
I think nothing motivates me more than trying to make sure that the law defends the defenseless and defends those who are minorities, not just color of the skin, but could be gender, but also could be a minority because of your ideology, the shade of your ideology. So when I hear about people being violently abused and that they have to report this to their commander, to me, it's kind of like you work for a corporation, you'd have to report being abused to your boss, who may well be a drinking buddy with someone who abused you.
It's hard to go out to him, huh? Well, he's been strangely silent over all these black men getting murdered. These black teenagers getting murdered. Didn't I tell you hypocrites? A nation full of hypocrites. See, he talking about rape now, but he didn't forget. That applies to, that same argument applies to these police officers that no outside investigatory body has any, they don't answer to nobody but themselves. Huh? Now you see why Allah had to step in. What do you do when the one who's supposed to be dispensing justice is a criminal himself? God have to come in. Okay. Now, I want to show you something else.
Good evening, Americans, and welcome to the Ed Show, live from New York. Let's get to work.
Protest will be a simmering distrust that exists. Hands up, don't shoot, between too many police departments and too many communities of color.
Hands up. Don't shoot. Give me any evidence that this is about race.
Is it a race thing or is it a crime thing? And I believe in keeping it real, keeping it raw.
We're exercising the right to free speech. Football players should understand what their lot in life is.
Players succeeded in
So stick with that. We are. I understand. I'm writing too, sweetheart.
Good to have you with us tonight, folks. Thanks for watching. The latest dispute in Missouri isn't on the streets. It's between the St. Louis Rams and the St. Louis County Police Department, Day 2. County police are still upset. The Rams players show support for Ferguson protests this past Sunday. After calling for an apology, police claim they got one. St. Louis County Police Chief John Belmar wrote an email to the staff saying, I received a very nice call this morning from Kevin Dimoff of the St. Louis Rams, who wanted to take the opportunity to apologize to our department on behalf of the Rams for the hands-up gesture that some players took the field with yesterday. The Rams are saying, hold the phone. That's false. A Rams spokesperson told CNN Sports, quote, we did not apologize. This is when the St. Louis County Police Department started complaining on Twitter, saying this: apology, expression of regret for not being able to do something. They quoted the Rams vice president of football operations saying, I regretted any offense their officers may have taken. So sweet, isn't it? The Rams did not respond to the tweet from the St. Louis County Police. On Monday night, Rams head coach Jeff Fisher made clear where he stood on the issue.
As far as the choice that the players made, no, they're exercising their right to free speech. They will not be disciplined by the club, nor will they be disciplined by the National Football League as it was released today. So that's all I'm going to say.
Let's just imagine for a moment if the Rams did discipline these players.
Do you know what kind of backlash that would? There'd be a lot of players that might not even show up this Sunday. I guarantee you, there'll be more players in the next round of football games that will show in solidarity their support for free speech, because that's what this is. Not everyone agrees with the way the Rams and the NFL are handling this situation. Look no further than Fox News.
But of course, NFL players have a right to express themselves, but my objection is where they do it. They can do it on a news show, or write an op-ed, or post on Facebook, or even fire off a tweet.
She thinks that she can tell grown men where and when they can talk. I told you, they think we're their property. And we used to be. I said used to be. Now we belong to Allah, those of us who want to. He said, just submit to him through his servant. That's me standing here talking to you. He said he'll deal with those who attack you, attempt to attack you. Listen to him.
Any place at any time, but not during an NFL game. That's the one time families gather in the stands around televisions just to have fun. And it's not just the players. Remember when Bob Costas decided to lecture the nation on gun control in the middle of an NFL game? Why ruin football with politics and controversy? It's just a game.
Well, it's just a game.
What does that say about the young black man's life that all of that was about? And that's a woman talking. That's how much they care about you and me. I still got them letters that silly woman up there in Michigan wrote me about my daughter cussing me and all that old kind of foolishness. You know, Allah got to let you see why his judgment is coming down. So nobody have nothing to say. Just keep looking.
Rams players are supporting their community and expressing free speech. It's something free speech experts over on Fox should know all about. Now, it would seem to me that people in the television business who have a platform and who are into promotion and into brand promoting, they understand that it's good to do things when you have everybody's attention. When these players are coming out on the field, attention. When they do this, people take notice. That's the platform they chose. They have every right to do that. I remember, I think this guy's name, Tim Tebow. Yeah. He used to love to show his faith every time he scored a touchdown or did something right. Took a little criticism from some folks, and who was there to defend him? Fox News. Oh, yes, they just couldn't believe that Tim Tebow was getting any kind of criticism whatsoever for showing support for his faith. That was an expression, but you know what? I guess we got to keep these expressions in football separate these days. You know, the bottom line here is that in 1968, American track athletes Tommy Smith and, of course, John Carlos raised their fists in Black Power statue and salute after winning the gold medals in the Mexico City Olympic Games. Look at that picture. Is that a statement? That's a statement. It was worldwide. It was famous. They wanted to bring attention to the mass civil rights movement of their time. Both athletes were widely criticized for their actions at the time. They weren't alone. It was a sign of the times. Remember this guy? Champion boxer Muhammad Ali came under heavy criticism for opposing the Vietnam War in 1967. That he wasn't going to go. He wasn't going to get drafted. He refused to get drafted on the basis of his religion. His boxing license and passport, well, they were revoked. And his case was played out in the appeals court. Eventually, the Supreme Court ruled in his favor. But you see, he lost 3 years of his boxing career right in his prime. Why? Because he was against the war and he had religious objections to it. So it's civil rights. It was the Vietnam War. Now athletes are standing with communities to reform the way police interact with minority neighborhoods in this country. And we're afraid of the conversation. We're going to be critical of those who take a platform that many of us in the media do every day to express their views. There is absolutely nothing wrong with voicing your opinion and standing with your community if you believe it. Black men are unfairly targeted by police in our society. It's a fact. It's a hard, cold fact that just, let's really deal with. And if
that's why I tell you, throw a blanket conviction on Caucasian people. There are some of them who acknowledge the truth. The trouble is, why should Ed speak louder for us than us? Don't nobody respect a man who won't stand up and be a man. I don't need the white man to champion my cause. And even after he do, some of us still scared to say something. Brother, you can't have it both ways. You can't get mad when people call you boy, and then when it comes time to show your manhood, you punk out. Now you just heard a Caucasian acknowledge that he knows that black men are unfairly targeted and mistreated in this country. He's acknowledged that fact that everybody knows. Okay, let's let you hear some more. Now, understand something. Ed can't articulate our problem, but he has acknowledged that there is a problem. Just like when President Jimmy Carter came out and said that what Congress is doing with President Obama is nothing but racism. Now, it was up to us to take it from there. And sadly, you didn't hardly hear nobody else say a word. It's time to man up, bruh.
you get criticized. Here's what the St. Louis community activist T. Dubbo said on this program last week. Once I see them hop out the vehicle and notice that it was the police, I put my hands up, and everybody's followed suit. When they see me put my hands up, they instantly pulled me out the car and asked me for license and registration, put that .40 caliber to my head, told me if I moved, they'd blow my head off. I asked what were we being arrested for, what was we stopped for, why were they following us? They told me to stop asking questions before people have to have a protest for me. I seen them put a .40 caliber to Rika Tyler's head, a young woman, a single mother, college student. They put their gun to her head. At that point in time, I began to be nervous. I didn't want anything to happen to her, so I decided to comply, stop asking questions. They picked me up off the ground, threw me in the back of a car. No one could never tell me what we were stopped for. As soon as I got in the back of the car, the officer whose truck I was sitting in, he told me that he didn't know why they stopped us. They had just been watching my car for the last couple of weeks and for the last 5 days.
I'll tell you why they stopped you, brother. I'll tell all of you why they stopped. They had been watching him, and rather than go over there and looked like they just went in on him. They let him get out on the street so that people think they had a reason to stop him. To protect and to serve. To serve and to protect. And you never asked the question of who they there to protect and to serve. You just made the assumption that they was talking about protect you and serve you. Didn't you? Well, let me show you something here. In the William Lynch, How to Make a Slave, on the last page, controlled language. And I'm not going to start at the first part. I'm going to cut to the chase. It says, you know, language is a particular institution. Meaning, in other words, language expresses meaning. Expresses, when you really understand language, you understand meaning. It's a way of conveying what you mean. It's a particular institution. It leads to the heart of a people. If you're a good listener, people will tell you what's in their heart. It's just like a lot of times you think people don't understand. Where you think people don't understand that what they did was wrong. You just heard Rand Paul tell you how it should go. Ain't no way the police supposed to be investigating themselves, right? You heard the when Chris, what's his name there? Chris Hayes was talking to them two congressmen there. Both of them used to be attorneys, district attorneys. And they said the district attorney's job ain't to go in there and clear nobody. The district attorney's job is to go in there and tell the grand jury that we need to indict this man. But they didn't want to indict him because they're their buddy, right? Okay. It says, you know, language is a particular institution. It leads to the heart of a people. The more a foreigner knows about the language of another country, the more he is able to move through all levels of that society. Now, you notice, you haven't heard anyone come in here, whether they was on the level of a child or a scholar, that I wasn't able to talk to. Now, have you? That's because I understand language. You're not going to snow me by your $500 words. And you're not going to snow me by talking and saying a lot of things that adds up to a whole bunch of nothing. So, because Allah have made me to understand. I don't know where you think God done made me understand what he have to say, but you gonna talk over my head. I'm the only one who talk over people's head. Why I say that? Because once he caught me up to his understanding, yes, I can talk over your head. And it says, therefore, if the foreigner is an enemy of another country, to the extent that he knows the body of, we have made the word to have what? Many limbs. It's a body of language. Do you understand? It says, to that extent is the country vulnerable to attack or invasion of a foreign culture. For example, now he's getting to the meat of it, to what he's getting at here. You take a slave. If you teach him all about your language, he will know all your secrets. And he is then no more a slave. For you can't fool him any longer. And being a fool is one of the basic ingredients of an incidence, meaning necessary, to the maintenance of the slavery system. Why you got to have white officers patrolling the black community? Because you need to keep the prison population high, so you can make a lot of false arrests. Do you understand? And if you can't get no legitimate arrest, well, call him nigger to just say something back to you. You heard what Tebow, what the brother said? He put a gun pistol to his head and say, don't ask no more questions. You got no right to ask no questions, nigga. Why that ain't on? They done cut us off. You ain't got no right to ask why you stopped. This is the question that we should be, this is the question that our leaders should be asking the police. What are your instructions when you stop people? Ask them, what are your instructions? If you stop a man, is your instructions that you tell him why you stopped him? Most of the time, patrols stop you. They will tell you why they stopped you. You know why most of your highway patrol officers are civilized? It's because they meet white people and black people. They meet a whole lot of, and they ain't gonna send no savage out there. But when you go into the black community, you get stuff like what happened to that young man. Just like that police officer told me. I've been told on different occasions, just like I told one, I said, Allah is God, Muhammad is his messenger, and you certainly the devil. And he told me, he said, yeah, that's right. And you gonna always be the devil's slave. You don't deny it. And I told him, I said, we'll see about that. But anyway, this is what we've been dealing with for 459 years. It ain't gonna go much longer. I promise you. It ain't going much longer. So he said, for example, if you told a slave that he must perform in getting out our crops, and he knows the language well, he would know that our crops didn't mean our crops. Huh? In other words, he said he'd know that our crops didn't mean he was included in that hour. Huh? You understand? And the slavery system would break down. Why? What other reasons do they have? By white people patrolling white officers patrolling the black community, that gives them a chance to keep us against each other. To tell one that, they talking about what they're going to do to y'all over there, so watch your back and all that kind of stuff. Keep dissension going. That's the last thing you need if you want to keep the thriving with the white businesses and the foreigners that they bring in here from other countries. You got to make sure that the people who patronize those businesses don't get smart and unite and set up their own businesses in their community. You understand? This ain't no white people unmuted their phone and said that I'm wrong. So what does that tell you? Okay. So you have to be careful in setting up the new language for the slave. For the slave would soon be in your house talking to you as a man to man. And that is a death to our economic system. See? Well, why you think they tell them, hey, these grown men playing a child's game? Football. Grown men playing a child's game. Basketball. Grown men playing a child's game. Baseball. Getting paid millions of dollars for it. To keep their thinking on the level of a what? That's why they think and feel safe to stand up and tell those football players, you don't be coming out here with your hand. That offends us. And you need to apologize, right? And there was a time when they would have gotten an apology. But the Spirit of Allah is moving through our people now. It's like when Ed asked Tebow, was he scared? He said, no. I was scared for her. That's why I did that. They can't do nothing else to me but kill me. That's what I felt when I came to Mississippi. The worst could happen is they just kill me. I'd just be another dead black man. But I'm through running away and get trembling just because a white man walk up to me. Being scared of them didn't stop them from mistreating us. Just like being scared of a bully don't stop him from taking your money, but standing up to him will. And I told you, you won't use me getting shot down or nothing as no excuse to go out there and do something crazy. Because if I'm the Son of Man, ain't nothing he can do to me. And if I'm not, then that's what I get for trying to be. Do you understand? But either way, we'll find out very soon. So, as I told you, there are certain things that, just like our immune system, it's not something that is controlled consciously. It's called an autoimmune system. You see? So likewise, there's our ability to protect ourselves from real danger. That's set on autopilot. So the earth and the black man are one. And soon everybody gonna find out. So we are, ain't no sense in looking at him, asking him, is that true? He just got here 6,000 years ago. What he know about a man that's been around here for over 78 trillion years? Are you aware that the black man is the only man on the earth that didn't have no father? Yeah. Without father, without mother, without beginning of days, without ending of days. It's just like that one who wrote, remember that email you got? Saying, we'll see how immoral he is when 357 Magnum is put to his head. Talking about me. That's all the devil can do, is kill the flesh. He can't do nothing else. But you can't kill a mind with a bullet. You can't kill a will with a bullet. So, you still ain't figured out that it's not my flesh standing here talking to you. It's the mind that's in this. And this mind been around here since forever. And it ain't sleep no more either. So, I was, you know what kind of system this is in America? When you understand capitalism, then you understand what protect and serve means. They killed that man out in front of a store. They were serving and protecting the interests of them businesses. You can come in there and spend your money. But once you spend your money, you're not welcome there no more until you're ready to spend some more money. And you hang out too long, the police come and tell you move along. You standing up out there trying to shortstop some of that money before it come in there, they come there and get you out of there. Make an example out of you. Protecting and serving the interests of those capitalists who have businesses. Do you understand? You say, well, they have to protect and serve us. Then why are they killing you? If they there to protect and serve you, protect you from who? It's the business people that was worried during that Michael Brown murder. And they was mad when they businesses got tore up. Some of them got tore up. And they was wanting to know, where was the police that promised to protect and serve them? It's time for you to understand. Protect and serve don't mean that they there protecting me and you. Otherwise, history would show you that they have did that. But how many times have a black person called the police to their home and wind up somebody at that home got killed by the one who, sometimes the one who called them get killed by them. When I was a youngster, I learned whenever the police start slow driving up, we'd be standing talking or something, and we'd see a police car, we start walking. Why? Because we knew they wasn't there to protect us. And they didn't make it no secret. You get all these murderers out of our communities. You get all these white officers, these savages. What is a savage? A savage is a person that has lost the knowledge of themselves and is living life on the level of a beast. What is that to say? When you look at another human being, and instead of seeing your fellow human being, your family member, but there ain't but one family on this planet, and that's the human family of the planet Earth. Civilized means to teach the knowledge and wisdom of the human family of the planet Earth. And every family has a father and a mother. The black man and woman is the father and mother of white people, brown people, yellow people, and all of the children that they produce. But these savages who don't know nothing about the family, patrolling the community, murdering the family. End it. Stop it before Allah have to stop it. And you're not going to like his solution. I'm warning you. I'm offering you a chance. Now, the mere fact that I can stand up here and articulate all of these things should tell you something. Are you that dense? Okay. All right. You know, everything that you have in the way of all of these modern conveniences, this technology and stuff, you haven't even thought about the fact of how mysteriously all of it all of a sudden came. You lived on this earth. I'm talking to you white people. You lived on this earth for the whole almost, and by the end of your time, by 1914, you had barely discovered a combustion engine. And now you sending ships to Mars, collecting rocks off of Mars and sending pictures back here to you. Don't you know that's not natural evolution? You think he told you everything he found in them pyramids? Do you honestly think that this is the first civilization that had technology? They showed you King Tut's exhibits, right? Stuff that they don't know how they could have made it back then, right? Better than stuff they got now. So if they made jewelry, you think they didn't have nothing else? You couldn't have had dominion if we hadn't covered up what we did. The very things that we let them discover wind up being their destruction. You know, it's with any child. You give him something that you give a child the keys to your car, he can be 15. He'll soon be wrapped around a pole somewhere. Because he don't realize that ain't no toy. It seems like a toy as long as you keeping it straight. But you get on one of them highways and let it get into a skid, you find out that ain't no toy. That thing will kill you. That's a dangerous piece of machinery. So, all of you need saving. And I'm offering you salvation now. It's up to you to accept it. So I'm going to remind you again. Do anybody disagree with me that protect and serve means to serve and protect the business district? Why you think if you go to, whenever they call the police and you in somebody's store or whatever, I don't care what you get out of there. They don't get on the owner of the business, they get on you. Down the street in front of it. You walk down there too long, they say, hey, why are you here? You don't even know why he's stopping. Let's go stay and call him. Tell him, get riffraff out of here. Protecting and serving. And you watch that same fella who's so belligerent with you, when he talked to that store manager, he said, yes, sir. What's the problem? He got some sense. He talks to you in a provocative way so that he can arrest you and keep the jails full. Do you understand? They make money off of every prison. They get so much money. So the more people they got in prison, the more money they get, for their budget and whatnot. Then they work you for free. The slavery system. And, being a fool is one of the major things that they need in order to maintain the slavery system. They have to make a fool out of you. And the messenger told me, he said, any black man and woman educated by white people is justified to be nothing but a fool. Now, did anybody have any disagreement with anything I'm saying? Why y'all cut the screen off? Did anybody have any disagreement with anything I said? See? What did the book say? Let me see here. Over in Isaiah. It's the 41st chapter and the 10th verse. It says, "Fear thou not, for I am with thee. Be not dismayed, for I am thy God. I will strengthen thee. Yeah, I will help thee. Yeah, I will uphold thee with the mind of my righteousness." The right hand of my righteousness is another way of saying the mind of his righteousness, because his righteous hand was his prophets, his messengers. And they was his means of getting the word to me. He said, "Behold, all they that were incensed against thee shall be ashamed and confounded." You know, when people shame, they don't want to come out. Huh? Why you think nobody coming out? It says right here, ashamed and confounded. Confounded mean at their wits' end of how to deal with what I'm saying. There ain't no way to deal with it. That's just the truth. They shall be as nothing, and they that strive with thee shall perish where there is no vision. The people perish. You know what happened to them people in Sodom when the angels pulled Lot in. Told them, "You come on in here." What happened to them? Smote them with what? They was blind from that point on up. They that strive with thee shall perish. In other words, those who don't accept my guidance and the understanding that Allah have given me to share with them, they are blind. Haven't you seen how blind you was to protect and serve? That's why the grand jury is always composed of some business people and that kind of thing. And business people, they look at them officers, and them officers and them got a silent agreement that, hey, man, I know you're not going to punish me for doing what you all got me here for. Oh, they ain't going to tell you. They murder us at will. Then want to come out and bring a parade, a bunch of lying women. That's why I appreciated Miss Ruley. Now, she said she believed something happened, but she said didn't nothing happen to her. Huh? She was honest on that. And I don't blame Dr. Cosby. I resigned too. All that he done did for them. And then some gossip come up. No proof of nothing. And all of a sudden he's taboo. Well, that's how they do you, you know. They use you and then kick you to the curb. Yeah, that's the history of white people. Use you. How many of y'all saw the Help? That wasn't far from the truth. Woman had worked for them all her life, cared for their children. Told her, get out. Huh? Just because her daughter came to see her and came through the wrong door. I mean, you think that's done changed? You heard that man stand up there and say they better remember they football players and they need to do that. Remember, their lot in life. The Romans had their gladiators, and their gladiators were slaves. And they paraded their slaves around. You know, gladiators was the ones who got in the arena and fought to entertain them. What you think the football stadium is? Baseball stadiums. They look just like the stadiums that the Romans had. They just, you know, more modern. And they don't want no slave telling them what he is and ain't gonna do. And you don't get up in my face, slave, telling me you don't like how I treated another slave. I'll put you in your place. Huh? Tell him come in here and put me in mine. All he can do is come in here and threaten to kill me. He sure ain't got no argument. But he got to get Allah's permission to kill me. So you know how that go. Pharaoh didn't have Allah's permission to kill Moses. Moses had Allah's permission to drown Pharaoh. And at the right time, he just put his rod out there, and that was that. Yep. The messenger told me what my rod is. He said, your rod is your word. He said, this one don't have to go and get no carpenter's tool or nothing, just his word. And we start changing just from his word. Yep. That's right. You see, the people are starting to wake up. That's because the Spirit of Allah is moving through them. Tired of being murdered for no other reason than that because we are black. So it's time to put a stop to it. Let's unite. You know, we could farm ourselves into the most beautiful nation. And there's so many places where black people send their children off to school to try to learn what we know. Man, we could write our own ticket any place. They could give us land and we could share our knowledge with them. We don't have to be sitting here taking this off of these people. Let them have America. Huh? Yeah. All we got to do is unite, build ourselves up, learn to do for ourselves, and then tell them, okay, you don't want us here, we'll leave. Right? It's called Exodus. That's a mass departure. Right? Well, you gonna force? I ain't gonna force nobody to do nothing. I ain't trying to make you go nowhere. If you want to be here, be here. My question to you is, why? When all you get is murdered, all you get is disrespected. You know, if the black man that's the president of the United States can't get no respect here, what hope you and me got? They can't say I'm lying. You hear any of them telling Congress to stop their foolishness. They even voted for a bunch of Republicans to get in there so they can finish disrespecting him. Right? Yeah. You ain't hear none of them get on there and say, y'all stop that foolishness. You don't try to lay it on him. It's his fault. When all he's done was try to get along with them and get them to work with him for the best interest of the nation. No, they got all his ideas, so they'll kick him out and then claim his ideas as their own. Like now, I guess they want to claim soul music. Huh? Everybody singing our music now, whilst we rapping. They'd like to claim my position, but can't do it. You notice, none of them get up in front of you talking about he understand the book. He already acknowledged he don't understand it. As I've told you, if he understood it, it would be a course that he had been offering from elementary all the way through high school, if he understood it. But he don't have a spiritual eye. He only has a natural eye. When I say eye, I mean mind's eye. Mind's eye is understanding. So Muhammad called him a one-eyed liar. He's lying when he stand up and tell you he's preaching the word of God to you. He don't have God's word in him to preach. As Jesus said in John 8:44, he told them, the Jews, those who, not just Jews, he's talking about white people in general. And you know that by what he said. He said, ye are of your father, the devil. And the lust of your father you will do. Whatever the mind desires to do, the body has no choice. Is that right? So the mind is the father of whatever the body does. Is that right? The author. So it says, ye are of your father, the devil, and the lust of your father you will do. He was a murderer from the beginning. And what they've been doing to us. When they first captured us, they murdered off a whole generation after they made us reproduce. How many did they murder in ships while they was bringing us across the water there? They call it the Middle Passage. Huh? And whenever England would, and whenever there was ships patrolling, trying to, because slavery was not permitted, I think in England, and they was patrolling, and whenever they was going to be boarded, they would take the anchor and drop the anchor, and the anchor would pull the slaves overboard and drown them, so they couldn't be found on the ship. White folks, if that ain't true, you can come in here and straighten me out. So Jesus told him, he said, he was a murderer from the beginning. Your daddy, Cain, that ain't no spook. Look at the history. Who was the first murderer? And Cain killed who? Killed his own brother. Is that right? And when he was asked, where's your brother? What did he say? He lied, didn't he? And abode not in the truth, because there's no truth in him. No truth in him. Huh? Says, when he speaketh a lie, he speaketh of his own. I'll show you the truth. And you get your dictionary and look up the word white. And as you look it up, you'll get to white leather and go to white lie. And look at what it says. An often trivial, diplomatic, or well-intentioned untruth. A white lie. When he speaketh lie, he speaketh of his own. For he is a liar and is the father of it. Whose name do children take? They take their father's name, don't they? Why he called a lie a white lie? Because he's a liar and the father of it. What you think you looking at when you look at TV at a movie or whatnot? You notice what's the biggest section in the library? The library. What's the biggest section in that? What do fiction mean? It mean a lie. Not true. Huh? As in, once upon a time, there was a little boy named Jack, and he lived with his mama. Once upon a time. There ain't never been no once upon no time. No little boy had no magic bean. But nothing but a lie. Now you see why they don't ask me to come prove nothing. Don't you don't want to go there with me. Be glad that I'm offering you salvation. That's what you be glad. You said, yeah, just sing that song, Amazing Grace. How sweet the sound of the Son of Man's voice to save a wretch like you. And it said, to save a wretch like me. I once was lost, but now I'm found. I was blind, spiritually blind, but now he has given me sight so I can see. Huh? You know, a vampire couldn't see itself in the mirror. White folks couldn't see themselves. They see themselves now. If you don't believe it, what you think Ed said what he said for? Black men are just mistreated in America. Huh? And that's just a fact. Huh? Was blind, but now he sees. You see? Now you can either change with the time or be destroyed by the time. You know what happened to the vampire when the sun rises on him? Burn him up. Huh? They showed you that. The bloodsuckers of the poor. Those who sit around in our communities and suck all of our wealth out of our communities, making themselves nice, beautiful suburbs and making themselves and their families healthy and wealthy and living in a nice, comfortable environment at our expense. while they strip mine the black community. You remember the little that Korean or whoever she was that shot that little black girl in her store, and they let her off? They do business over in them people's country. People were sent over here to do business. Sure, they was gonna let her off. Are you gonna get with me, or are you gonna just keep dying? What? You just rather die than to follow me? Ain't no sense in you thinking you gonna go fight them. That's all that man been doing for his whole history is fighting and killing. You got no chance to do that. Not with him. Get behind me. Allah, he can deal with him. I trust in Allah. I don't trust no gun. Nope. There's a whole lot of people put their trust in the gun that's in the grave now. So I would suggest you trust in Allah. He has never let those down who trusted in him. Remember, Moses, his back was against the wall before he got a chance to show the power of the God who sent him. Pharaoh thought he was finna slaughter them, didn't he? And got slaughtered. Yeah. So Allah have raised me up like he raised and lifted up the serpent in the wilderness, like the caveman was lifted up. He told you he was a caveman. He just never told you how he got out of there. Somebody discovered fire. No, Moses taught him. So the Son of Man had to be lifted up, because slavery wasn't no joke, man. And it took God to come and raise me up. And when he raised me, then he now raising all of the dead in Christ. Yeah. That's why Paul, he said, for me to be absent from this body, when the Lord come, I'll be present in his head. I'll be present with the Lord. That's what he said. Yeah. Don't you know if I was a fake, somebody would have been unproved it by now? You can't stand up and talk for hours and hours and hours and people don't catch you in your lie eventually. Huh? And you see how quick I caught Rand Paul sitting up there talking about he worried about the in the military where the women had to report the wrongdoing of some of their officers to their commander who has drinks and all that with them. But what about us in the police? Who do we call on those who police our communities? You don't even really know what the meaning of the word police is. You know what, when every morning when we used to get up in the military, we had to police the area where our billet was. You know what that meant? Go and get all the trash up off the ground and everything and throw it away. Now you understand what police mean. I told you I know more than I'm telling. I still know some things I ain't tell you. You let them come in here clowning. So, look, it's time for us to get together. You all set up the meeting, I will come. And we can talk as brothers, not as big I and little you, but as brethren. Let me share what I have in my head with you. We need to be finding the wise ones of every field and put resources in their hands so that they can go. The wise doctors, we need to put some resources and let them tell us how many bed hospital they want us to build, and they can get in there and take care of us. We need to put these brothers who know and sisters who know something about research in the field of medicine. Not trust and wait on them to find cures for our diseases. We need to find them. Japanese do it. Chinese people do it. Korean people have their own hospitals and their own banks. We can do the same. We have the talents. We just don't have the unity because we don't love each other. Those of you who I've criticized at different points in time, I criticized something that you was doing. I criticized something that you was teaching. But I don't hate you. I disagree with things that Minister Farrakhan teaches and does, but I love Minister Farrakhan. He's my brother. He helped teach me. And I don't deny that. If you think he's teaching now, you should have heard him back when I came in the nation. When the messenger was here. But we've all just fallen apart, just gone against each other. For what? You can disagree with a person without hating the person. When you gonna grow up? You agreed with everything your mother and your daddy said. Well, did you? You hated them then, huh? You had any siblings? Me and my siblings used to come to blows. We wouldn't fight like we fought at somebody out on the street. But we'd come to blows. But I didn't want to see nothing happen to them. I don't want to see nothing happen to my people. Except our unity. That's what I want to see happen. Look, man, I haven't thrown the Bible away. I just threw away the misunderstanding. We look like trusting white people to give us the understanding of the word of God when he ain't. How could he understand it and he ain't never practiced it? Are you going to sit down and let a man teach you how to play the piano and he there sitting down there banging and making noise and can't come up with no tune and you ain't never seen him play nothing? When have you ever seen white people practice what the Bible says? When? If you saw him practice it, what was you doing being a slave to him? And I thought the book said, love your neighbor as yourself. As you would that men do to you. What? Has he ever treated us like he would like to be treated? Even them young men, them young white boys that go shooting up their schools and whatnot, if he can, he take him alive. Should do. Those are his children. You want to find out what made them go like that and try to fix them, not kill them. Us. His feeling is just give me an excuse and I'll kill you. Matter of fact, you notice an excuse is not a reason. Yeah. Okay. All right. All my people that's listening. Those of you who disagree with me, tell me why. What am I missing? What is it that you that keeps you from accepting the offer of friendship that I'm offering you? What? I told you that I would never make you sorry. Those who have accepted me. I told you I'd never make you feel sorry or ashamed that I was representing you. Have I kept my word? If you help me, I will help you. Because that's all I want you to help me to do, is to help you. You ask anybody, any of these brothers that knew me, when they first met me, I wasn't needing them to help me feed my family. They was eating at my house. And you still eat here every Sunday if you want to. Did I sell you a plate? You join with me. And let me say this to those of you who join in me. When you first join, you are not a Muslim. you are a one in processing. You are in the process of becoming a Muslim. It's just like when you go to school as a freshman, of if you're going to medical school, do you call yourself a doctor? Or you call yourself a med student, right? Well, then you are in the process of becoming a Muslim. And one cannot hold you to the same, judge you by the same yardstick as someone who knows exactly and has been practicing Islam for years when you just not learning. So I don't want you to be discouraged and don't want you to try to, it's just like a child. When your child is born, ain't no sense in you thinking you can feed them a lot and make them grow up real quick. That ain't gonna happen. It's a gradual, steady process. You know, that's why we are taught that we seek Allah's assistance through patience and prayer. I want to say to those of you who have spouses and whatnot, when you get angry with your husband or get angry with your wife, don't insult them. If you don't feel that you can be what you call civil, then just don't discuss it right then. Matter of fact, this is my number, 601-786-1332. That's my cell phone, where you can reach me during the day. And my at night, my landline is 601-786-9742. If you both agree to talk with me, I will counsel you. You know, I won't take sides. I'll take right. And I'll be more than happy to help you sort out your differences. But you need to quit playing musical chairs with marriage. Do you know people, there's some attorneys that make their living doing nothing but divorces? What does that say about people committing to marriage? Marriage is almost a hobby and not a commitment with people. It's just a hobby. You know, you're not gonna stay what you call in love. That wasn't even love. That was the heat of passion. You're not gonna stay in that forever. Then when that wear off, then you start to see the things that you were willing to ignore before because of your passion. Then you start to see that that person that you was idealizing is a human being with faults just like you. Do you understand? I mean, when when you first meet people and you ain't living with them at first, whenever you talk to them, their breath smells so sweet, right? When you wake up in the morning, it don't smell so sweet, right? and the hair's all combed and everything is in place, dressed real nice. And you ain't really seen the real person. You've seen the part-time person. So, That's when your word that you gave, when you start seeing the real person, you have to remember that you gave your word. Do you understand? For better or for worse, sickness and in health, right? And you also need to remember when you get mad, remember the good thing that attracted you to them in the first place. That and remember something. You don't have to always. When you get married, most mistake that people make is they start treating each other like property instead of like they used to treat each other, with respect. Do you understand? Stop using it. Look, brother, stop telling people you got the papers on her. You ain't got no papers on nobody. And sister, you ain't got no papers on nobody. You don't own people like a car. You get papers on a car, on a house. You can't get no papers on no person. Ain't nobody staying with you if they don't want to. And you need to cut that foolishness out. Tell me, if I can't have you, can't nobody have you. That's crazy. And you cut that foolishness out. You should have more dignity about yourself than that. You understand? You should feel that if somebody don't want you, then it's their loss. And it would be if you was a decent human being, because it ain't that many in this, and not in this world. There's a whole lot of mirages out here. But really decent human beings? The book said, if a man find a wife, he find it a good thing and obtained favor of the Lord. And the book says also, 1 man in 1,000 have I found. And so you find a good man, you done found 1 in 1,000. So look, if every time you get high or drunk, half drinking, you come home cussing, it's time to stop drinking. Don't let anything take control over you like that. And don't let nobody tell you that alcohol just it's got power, and it ain't nothing got no more power over you than you give it. You understand? You'd be surprised. The will, there's nothing more powerful than your will, except the one who gave you that will. You understand? Put your will inside of God's will, and you will discover that whatever you will come to pass. Because your will is inside of his. What he wills, you wills. You remember Jesus was smart. He said, Father, not my will, but thy will be done. Huh? Yeah. That's the way to do it. That's Islam. Entire submission to the will of God. What you thought Ezekiel was looking at when he said, oh, will. Yeah. He said their action was that of a will within a will. Yeah, that's right. Will and will sound the same, don't it? Yeah, we have made the word to have many meanings. So don't you, I know it's late. I kept you longer than I should have. But I needed to share these things with you. And I also want to remind you that we don't have to walk around hating people. We can hate what people do because that's actually what it is you hate. You hate what people do. If they hadn't done, if you ask them, why are you hating? Because he did so and so and so. See, you hate what he did, all right? And if he repent, correct himself, then to err is human. To forgive is what? Divine. That's right. So I don't walk around with the chip on my shoulder, because remember, treat people like you what? That's right. If it was your country, what would you expect from people with your officers or whoever it is you put in charge? You'd expect them to cooperate, right? Well, then, you don't have to, just because you will fight or you're not afraid, that don't mean you got to walk around with a chip on your shoulder. Show respect. And oftentimes people who would have disrespected you, they change their mind. You understand? When you meet someone who don't have no sense, do them like you would a tornado. Try to go the other way. Get out of his way and let him pass. Is that right? That's right. You don't run into no tornado, do you? Right. They say the best place to get away from a tornado is underground. Humble. Underground, right? Yeah, humble yourself and let him pass. So wherever I go, I try to make sure that if I come back that way, ain't nobody sorry to see me come. You can't stop people from hating you, but you can sure stop it from being justified. You hear me? Okay. All right. Now we need to start practicing some love. I hear people all the time say, show some love for so-and-so, and they clap their hand. That may be a little small start. But clapping your hands, people, that ain't showing love. Showing love is when you really start being willing to see their need and start doing something to make sure that they get their needs fulfilled. You understand? All right. So I'm trying to show some love for you now. If you let me, I will. Okay? All right. I'm not at my wit's end of what to do. I know what to do. You just heard me tell them. Do any of y'all have a better suggestion of what could solve the problem of all these murders and stuff in our community than I just gave you? We can stop all of this unnecessary killing. First thing you have to do is be honest. Be honest enough to admit that there's a bigotry and racist problem in this country. And when you be truthful about that, then the solution becomes clear. You know? And I'm going to tell you something. There won't be no need for bigoted police officers on either side when everyone is patrolling their own people. That way, when strangers do happen to come through, they won't run into a fool. They'll run into someone who got sense enough to show them respect, because that's the kind of people you'll be hiring. Do you understand? That's right. And before you know it, you know, we all will be able to get along with each other. Once we stop seeing each other in the light of being enemies, then we can see each other as fellow human beings. Okay? You don't tell me you got the right to speak out when your people get mistreated or whatnot, and then you want to deny other people the right to speak out. If they feel theirs is being mistreated, what kind of man are you? Treat people like you want to be treated. I showed you an example of that with Miss Ruley. It's because I didn't believe that Dr. Cosby had did nothing to them. Wasn't no reason for me to invite her in here to cuss her out or to mistreat her. Because I didn't believe it. But how do I know if I don't talk to her? And she said she heard these other women coming out. Well, naturally, I know what happened. She thought about her experience. Well, maybe it was more to that than I thought. Huh? And then maybe again, it wasn't. I know one thing. If you had never seen Dr. Cosby dating them, then where are all these women talking about he was raping them? And all of them admitted they was over there trying to get something out of him. Him to sponsor them for something. Huh? Well, you know, lots of times when you don't get what you're after, some people in this world, they call themselves going to pay you back. Everybody know that grand rape, white woman against a black man, that always was successful. As if any black man was nervy enough to try to rape a white woman. If we had that kind of nerve, we'd have been fighting and doing some everything else, man. You couldn't, no, no, sir. So, I feel for Dr. Cosby. And, those who he obviously offended, some of them that tried to pay somebody to get him in a compromising position. If he was the low-down man that they was talking about, they wouldn't have had no problem getting that. All they had to do is follow the next one that went over there. Huh? And this man going around the black community trying to tell black people to stop being wasteful and stop being disrespectful and all that kind of thing. Well, that's what they don't want. Some of them. That's in power. That don't serve the purpose that they want. They jails ain't gonna be full of you if they can't get you to do act a fool. accusing us of dealing drugs and all that kind of stuff, knowing we ain't got no drug factories. So where them drugs coming from? They put them in there and misteach you and me. Keep you Let me tell you something. Anytime you find things out in front of people and then you fix it where they can't make the kind of money that it takes to get them things, then it's easy to come in there and tell the foolish fella, look, you can make plenty of money if you deal these drugs in. And the next thing you know, they got a string on him. And they let him, and they'll arrest him from time to time and use him to get others to put in jail. That's the game. Jails full of young black men and women. So, entrapment it's called. So the solution is, get behind me. And I'll show you, you can live good. You don't need all of that. You don't need, it's not a lot of money that you need. What you need is unity and love for one another. And you can't have unity if you don't have love for one another. Nobody wants to unite with somebody that they hate. And as long as we hate each other, we ain't gonna unite. Stop thinking that everybody that criticizes you is your enemy. Everybody that pat you on your back and grin in your face and tell you how great you are is your friend. If you so great, why your condition so bad? I'm not gonna dare stand up here and tell you that you great. Great in what? All that does is stop you from trying to become great. But why would you try to become something that you already are? No, you're not great. Look at your condition. That's what you are. That's what we are in the eyes of the world. If your condition is nothing, then in the eyes of those who look at you, you are nothing. Now, if you're tired of being a nothing people, let's unite and make ourselves a something people. It ain't enough to just stand up and say, I am somebody. Who are you? A man with amnesia knows he's somebody. He just don't know who. Okay. I done said enough. It's Wednesday. I'll let y'all go on and get your rest. May Allah bless us all, keep us safe and in our right minds. And I look forward to talking with you again, if it pleases Allah, Friday. May Allah's Salam Alaikum.